Good morning, everyone. It is accurate to describe our keynote speaker, Lydia Cacho, as a prominent Mexican journalist, feminist, and human rights campaigner. Those terms, however, don't begin to describe the fight that she has undertaken to combat pedophilia, sexual slavery, and human trafficking. Nor do those honorifics capture the almost unimaginable courage that she has shown throughout her life. Her journalism career began with articles about the arts and entertainment for Cancun newspapers, but she soon began writing about violence against women. Her reporting and outspokenness has always made her enemies, and those early stories were no exception. For not the last time, she was beaten and assaulted in what appeared to be retaliation for her reporting, and that was just the first instance of violence against her, to which she responded within a year by opening a shelter for battered and abused women. In 2003, Lydia wrote articles on the sexual abuse of minors for the newspaper Puesto, including one about a girl abused by a local hotel owner, feeling that police had failed to act on the girl's complaints. Out of that came a book that she thought would bring attention to the authorities, to the whole of Mexico, and now to the world. You can find that book. It is the first of 12 that she's written, Demons of Eden. The book resulted in an arrest and imprisonment of Lydia, and a 2007 Mexican Supreme Court ruling that characterized that treatment of her as unwarranted, but held no public official accountable for it. Lydia has continued to be the target of numerous death threats and some actual attempts on her life. She refuses to leave Mexico, despite numerous offers from other nations for asylum, and continues to fight injustice, particularly against children and women. Lydia is the winner of almost an innumerable number of human rights and reporting awards for her work, all as far as I can see, very well deserved. And I encourage you to read more about her and find out what she has done, and to think about it, what it would mean for you locally, because I think that's her perspective, is both global and local. Please join me in welcoming Lydia Cacho.
Thank you so much. Good morning. This is fun. It's the first time I'm in Vegas, which I'm not infiltrated, trying to investigate human traffickers, and I'm just invited to a nice hotel, so this is nice for a change. As you've been told, well, first of all, I have to thank ACAMS for inviting me here. This is the second conference I'm at. I went to the one in Cancun for the first time, where I live, and this is the second one. So I've been a journalist for 30 years, and I've specialized in organized crime, gender violence, and crimes against children, which is quite an interesting mix when you also need to understand how money laundering works with the kind of individuals that I investigate or networks. So yes, I wrote Demons of Eden in 2004, and it got me in jail. And what I did to survive was I decided to report on my own case instead of just stay there as a victim, aside of obviously going to a psychologist and doing everything that I tell victims to do. I decided to investigate one of the guys that was the most powerful man within this network of child pornography, that as far as I knew, and I had judicial evidence, were raping children from 4 years old to 13 years old in this network of child pornography, bringing them from the US, from other countries in Latin America, and Mexican kids into Cancun, a fancy, fancy hotel where they would have parties and, of course, have sex with children. Were they pedophiles? That was the first question I asked myself. Because everybody was like, this is a scandal, it's awful, it's 200 kids. And I was like, I only have the information for 200 kids, but I need to know more. So I needed to know more about technology. And back then, in 2003, as you already know, it was quite difficult to get experts to explain to a journalist, a Mexican journalist nonetheless, to go deep into the web and understand how these little black rooms worked. From men that used to go to Cambodia and Thailand to get children to have sex with, to men that come to Vegas and just simply go to a brothel and order younger and younger women every time they come. So I saw many patterns. I became a hacker in order to understand how it could be investigated. And back then, nobody really got a damn for a hacker. Now we do know what hackers do. But back then, I was like, I'm studying this. And my dad was like, oh, Lydia, you always get into these weird things. And I'm like, yeah, Dad, you know, and I have to go deep inside. So I got all these videos, child pornography videos. And I knew I was committing a crime back then, but I needed to get them and print all the photos. And then all of a sudden, I'm in my studio back in Cancun, and I had this stack of photographs of these older men that take their own pictures with these little children, 4, 5, 7, 12, 13 years old, having sex or, you know, just having them naked with them. And I was wondering, will we ever have the possibility that all the companies in technology will have face recognition so we can save these children from all over the world? Because by the time I was looking for the bad guys, I was looking for these pedophiles. I was looking for these hotel owners and senators and governors that were in the pictures with the kids, that thought that nobody ever would dare to investigate them. So I'm a curious woman, and I did investigate them. And there was one in particular that was the boss of them all. And there was pretty much nothing about him on the internet back then. But I saw a news piece written by a Vegas newspaper. And I saw Kamil Nassif was in jail, put in jail in Vegas by Binion, a man named Binion. Some of you might know the name. And then he was put in jail for tax evasion. And I knew nothing about tax evasion. It's not my specialty. I'm not specialized in that, but I wondered, so I looked for a tax evasion specialist, and I came to Vegas, and I investigated why he was incarcerated. And once I had all the information, and I knew his links with the Vegas traffickers, I got his links to the Vegas brothels, and I got his links to money laundering to Mexico, and to investing this money into political venues and parties. So then I knew how many governors he owned, because he was giving money to these governors for elections, local elections in different states. One of the states was mine, where I live. Cancun, it's in Quintana Roo, one of the states, which he invested millions of dollars for, of course, under the table for the political campaigns. So I was trying to map this all together. So I'm investigating child pornography, human trafficking, of course, for the purposes of sexual child exploitation. And at the same time, I got all this investigation, and I needed experts all over. And the fantastic thing is that I got them. Every source that I looked for wanted to talk to me, because they thought, first I was kind of weird. I don't look like an investigator. That's what they told me. I don't know what investigators look like. But then I'm Mexican and I speak all these languages, so it's quite strange, you know? I don't have a sombrero. And then I told one of the financial experts from Vegas, from Nevada. I told him, what do you think would be the best way for me to really, really get what's going on underneath Vegas? And he said, well, you would need to infiltrate, but you're a woman, so you cannot infiltrate, you know, as a client, as a John. You cannot do that. So what would you do? And I said, I need to pole dance, so I need to learn that. And I got to learn that. It's really, really difficult, I swear. I spent months learning how to do that. And then I did infiltrate. And I did get all this information from all the buyers. And I knew the market, as any other market, is run by the buyers, not by the people that are being sold to, the buyers. So I got all this together. I wrote one book, then I wrote another one, and then I was incarcerated, as they already told you, and I was tortured for 20 hours by a policeman that was told to torture me because I was messing with personal issues of governors, 2 senators, many businessmen, and of course this millionaire that used to come to Las Vegas. So I won the case after a year, a case against them after a year. We won the case against the main child pornographer after 12 years. Mexican justice is really fast. And we won the case after those years, and we got the first sentence, 112 years for child pornography. It's a historical sentence in all of Latin America. And the way I got it, it's because I linked all the crimes together. Thank you. We link all the crimes together. And some of my friends that work for the New York Times or the Washington Post that usually, you know, they go embedded into Afghanistan and are trying to play hero, they went like, Lydia, you are becoming an activist. This is not a good idea. And I said, this is the journalist of the future. If you don't get it, then you will lose your job and nobody will read whatever you write. Because we have to change with the times, as you are in ACAMS. You are linking together everything that you do and getting more and more people that are specialized in different areas in order to understand how the world is changing. So one of the little girls that we say that we rescue in our shelter from the 200 kids that were abused only in that ring, told us so much information about these guys. And I knew there was something there. The victims do know a lot about their captors. The victims of trafficking, either they're children or adult women or men, they do know a lot about their abusers. So we truly need to talk to them and listen to them and try to understand how the market is growing and working. Right now, what is going on with the market, not only in Nevada, where, as you know, prostitution rings run as usual, and the thing that is changing is that a lot of the buyers are looking for younger and younger girls and boys. And this is what we will be facing in the next 10 years in regards of criminal charges against child pornography, against traffickers. And I was wondering, why are they looking for younger girls? So when I was infiltrating one of the brothels in Costa Rica, of course I told them I was an adult. You know, I looked too old for 18, 16-year-old girls that are forced into prostitution. So I told one of the clients I was just there for, you know, for kicks, just for remembering the old times. And he believed me, because usually when they are thinking about sex, sorry guys, they just don't really pay attention to whom they're talking to or whatever they say. So this doctor from Spain and this engineer from Germany explained to me something very simple. They said, Lydia, listen, the point here is that our wives are fine. We love them. But, you know, we really, really like these young women from Latin America because they're so obedient and they do know who is the boss in sex. And I wrote that down that night, and I knew that was it. They are looking for younger and younger girls and boys because the feminist movement around the world has won already many, many battles. One of them is to give women and young girls the right to say no and the right to understand their body belongs to them. So when I went back to another trial, they asked me to be a witness to for a trial of all these young men that were marrying young girls, 15-year-old girls, bringing them to New York and exploiting them sexually in New York. I knew exactly what was going on. They are getting younger and younger, including, of course, in Nevada, where I'm very safe, I'm sure. And this is a trend. If any of you specialists in technology watch pornography, you will know that by now, 42% of all pornography online, free pornography, has children on it. It's teenagers, underage girls and boys. They're supposed to be videos taped by their own, by themselves. And the other day, a human trafficking victim, a survivor, told me, you know what pornography is? She said, it's trafficking with a camera in front of us. That's what it is. So this is the challenge of the next years. We have to be able to understand, investigate how the money laundering and the criminal actions of these men are taking place within the pornography industry without moralizing or over-moralizing. You have to moralize about it. But really, truly investigating the criminal acts. And I found in my last investigations that you can really, truly understand the links between all of these crimes. I wrote another book called Slavery, Inc., in which I decided to follow the trails of 15 international mafias to understand how they work together. And I learned a lot from them. I learned one thing that a specialist in ethics from the International School of Ethics in Australia told me. And I will, just to be brief, read you a couple of things, and I will need my glasses because I'm now 55, as I told the guys in the brothels. So, we are looking for an alternative system to run the world of politics, as democracy seems to be facing a dangerous decay. Capitalism has been replacing political governance. As many experts have said, capitalism is much more than trading goods and services. It spills into broader spectrum, representing people and power interests. This is what we call neoliberalism. And now I'm going to talk specifically, not only, of course, the US and your good friend Donald Trump, who is one expert in this. And next time you invite me, I'll talk about Trump and trafficking. Hopefully he's been impeached. If not, I will do it anyway. So, what Gordon Young said was neoliberalism argues we do not need to rely on the accountability promises of our representatives. The market makes the rules. So some of the most powerful neoliberals are telling us that the market will encourage better governance. Is it? Is it doing it? But what if those businessmen have become far too confident with the normalized relationship with organized crime? That was my question to Gordon. And what I think right now is, will they promote the privatization of the infrastructure, and removing government interference, as Trump is trying to do. They have slowly changed the rules on how we weigh transparency and a key factor to sustain the rule of law. That is what's happening to Mexico. In some areas in Mexico, we ask ourselves, who is running this country? Some areas of Mexico, who is politically running some areas in Mexico? Is El Chapo Guzman, the Russian mobster that are ruling right now some areas in the southeast of Mexico? Yes, I think so. So if we do not take this in account, we will never really understand how to tackle mafias. The war against drug is not working because the mafias are taking over politics. And I'm so happy I'm here surrounded by such a broad spectrum of experts, because I really, really would like to know if any of you have answers to that, because that is one of my main concerns, and I'm sure it will be one of yours. Thank you so much.